Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you, Canada. But Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys?
Well, Charlton, it's a liquefying day down here. You know, we needed to do a little hydration.
Yeah.
So, we might have took in a little too much, but everybody's feeling good down here in this humidity and everything, getting ready for the big game tomorrow night between Alabama and Florida State.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we love the way you good up boys call humidity, humidity. And so obviously everything is all good in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Today is a beautiful September the 1st, 2017 in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I want to start with some good news. I know it's been a very, very tough week for the good people down in the great state of Texas and in the South. And we've had a lot of rain damage, water damage, but people are pulling together. And as of about 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 149,000 people have donated, Big C, an average of about $106. The largest donation was by $36 million by Michael Dell, the founder of Dell Technologies. J.J. Watt raised over $15 million for Hurricane Harvey since Sunday, August 27th. Big C, talk about the American ability to pull together when times are tough for people. Big C, your thoughts?
America's strong, America's tough. I mean, we come together in times of adversity this country does, regardless of all the infighting that this country does between social activists and everything else. In times of need, these people are innocent. They're like babies. They're in the middle.
Yeah.
You know, they've done nothing wrong. Mother Nature's dealt them a bad hand for the second time in 12 years down in the southern part of the U.S.
Yeah.
But, you know, America's come together. And, you know, Charlton, you and I talked a couple of days ago about how people talk about players putting in and how players have to pull together. I think the NFL felt, you know, backhanded by what J.J. Watt has done. J.J. Watt, an individual, a great player, a great humanitarian, and I think he should be up for the Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Oh, definitely.
And win it hands down right now without even having any voting, raising over $15 million. But you and I talked about the owners, the egregiousness of the owners and their greed.
Yeah.
How they should be donating money. And today, NFL owners stepped up about half of them and donated at least $1 million each into the fund. And so I want to give my well-deserved thanks to those owners in the NFL who stepped up. What took so long, though, Charlie? They should have did this on day one.
That's a big point, Big C.
By Rob McNair, the owner of the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
But I want to praise the owners for going in, giving up $1 million, most of them, that donated, you know, and said, hey, you deserve it. I mean, they make that, Charlton, more than that on a daily basis in the NFL, the owners do.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not hurting them. But to give back to so many of those people who have helped make them rich, I really want to thank the owners for stepping up. Now I would like to see the league as a whole step up. You know, the NFL office. We got the commissioner who makes some $40 million a year. Hey, Roger.
Yeah.
It's time to be more than just a share and be a donator, okay?
Well,
Roger Goodell, calling on you now.
Yeah.
Calling on you to give up your $1 million to this fund because these great people in the state of Texas who were there when the Houston Oilers were there, when they started out, they played the eighth wonder of the world.
Yep.
Now they're at Reliance Stadium with the Houston Texans. They've done so much for the NFL to even bring the NFL back into Houston.
Well, Big
it's
C,
time for the commissioner to step up and help out.
That's a very good point. I do want to say this segment is sponsored by the Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. You can drive a car, you can drive a Cadillac, and when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Big C sent you. Big C, wow, so many things. Just grateful. You know, it's about 111 out here in Northern California. It's like a heat wave sweeping the West Coast, and then we have these hurricanes sweeping the southeast. So obviously, the great country, the United States of America, a lot of contrast on what's happening. It's almost like politics, different people going through different things. But I do want to say, again, with all the great people in the state of Texas, our thoughts are with you. We know Texas is huge on football, Big C. Football starts there for a lot of the high schools, especially around the Houston area, that can't play. And so even though they can't play the game, there's still people who are helping save lives because a lot of things are more important than who's going to win a game. So again, congratulations to everybody stepping up. And I do conclude your thoughts with J.J. Watt being in some type of humanitarian. Every athlete and every owner can do the same thing. Big C, college football is big. And Washington is going to be over at Rutgers tonight. Last night we saw number 2 Ohio State. Not that impressive in the first half against Indiana, but they pulled away as you knew they would. A lot of good things happen in college football. We're going to touch on that later. But I do want to bring up something. How sports brings everybody together. And sometimes we don't have the money to do certain things. If you're a school, sometimes they have a hard time getting new books, computers. The USA Today #1 team, Bishop Gorman of Las Vegas, Nevada, of all places. I wonder how the #1 team is in the city of Las Vegas. You think somebody knows somebody, big thing? But Bishop Gorman is an amazing team. They've won 55 games in a row. They're on the road in Southern California playing perennial power Mater Dei of Santa Ana, led by Bruce Rollison, 68-year-old coach, been at the helm for a long time. Both are private schools, ranked #1 and #3. Big C, just give me your thought on the state of college football is one thing, and the state of high school football with these mega teams, these mega programs, not playing someone 50 miles away. They're going 300 miles to play someone, Big C. Is that a good or bad thing? Your thoughts?
300 miles, they go 2,000 miles to play each other. You can think about this, and the word private in high school, is a bad terminology.
Yeah.
That means prep school, okay, Charlton? That's what it is. That means if you have the money to put your kid and move into that district, rent an apartment, and have a power bill in that address, you can put your kids there, Charlton, even if you don't live there. I remember a couple of years ago, Snoop Dogg, his son, went to Bishop Gorman. He ended up going to UCLA.
Yeah.
As a wide receiver. But Snoop Dogg, is in Long Beach, Compton. That's where he is. But he went down to Vegas, bought a house like anybody of wealth can do.
Yep.
And had part of his family move down there so that his son could go to this particular high school.
Yeah.
And this is an unfair advantage for those schools who don't have the financial means or the backing. We've seen this with so many schools around the country, Charlton, that they're basically preparatory schools, whether it's basketball, baseball, or football.
Yeah.
Where you're paying a tuition for a child to go into a private school, which is great. But what you're doing is prepping them to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with living your dream in America. But you look at so many kids who are disadvantaged in that situation, who may be great athletes, who's looking for an opportunity, Charlton, to be there.
Yeah.
But they can't get there, so they may fall through the cracks. And we've seen so many children over the years that this has happened to. But when you look at the state of high school football, and I remember when we traveled on that yellow school bus, and with the windows down for air conditioning.
Oh, you guys didn't have a chartered airplane?
Now they have an airplane to get kids to where they need to be, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, how are you setting the kids up for life? Now, some of these kids will, get great college scholarships.
Yeah.
And they make it to the pros.
Yeah.
But when they don't, Charlton, and that rug is pulled from under, just like a lot of college athletes, Charlton, when your playing days are over and the cheaters stop, what do you do in life if you haven't totally prepared or the organization that you're with haven't prepared you fully, Charlton?
Yeah, and that's a very good point. So obviously, we wish these teams well. I remember Mater Dei's program in Southern California. They've been a dominant program for so many years, sent a lot of kids on to the college ranks and played very well there. And they opened the season last week with a 31-7 win over La Puente Bishop Amat High School, another Southern California power. But Bishop Gorman took on the #1 team from Maryland, the Matha Catholic. It's called the Matha Catholic of Maryland, and they beat them 35-22. So that's a long flight, and I doubt if they took the bus and came out to California, or actually came out to Nevada. But obviously, it's never going to slow down. The ironic thing I want to bring up is Coach Rollison, who's the helm of Mater Dei High School, and I met him several years ago when they were playing De La Salle from the Bay Area. And also, there's a Coach Sanchez, Kenny Sanchez, for Bishop Gorman. Well, Kenny Sanchez, his brother, coaches at UNLV. And Bruce Rollison met the brother at a Nike football combine. Well, these combines are not free. It's kind of like if you have the money to travel across the country and go a few thousand miles away, then you can get into those combines. So that's where a lot of the who's meet, and they schedule games down the road. But I do think it's ironic we have the college football #1 versus #3, and then high school football #1 versus #3 in Southern California tonight. So it should be a good game. A lot of good games happening all over the country, including last week we had another high school program, and then we'll get onto some college. St. Thomas Aquinas of Florida I think Michael Irvin went there, as well as a lot of other top name players went there in Florida. They beat St. John Bosco in overtime by the score of 10-3. Big C, an overtime high school game, 10-3. Was a lot of defense being played? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's you to know the level of defensive talent that these schools possess, Charles.
Yeah.
A lot of these schools are getting rankings off of their history.
Yeah.
But you also wonder, Charles, what type of conference are these kids playing? Are they independents?
Yeah, they have to be.
Whoever they want to schedule, because I remember growing up and you had these rivalry games of schools in your conference.
Yeah.
That you look forward to. I mean, you had cities that hated each other.
Yeah.
When it was football time, that people would do things that were illegal on campus.
Yep.
In the middle of the night.
Yep.
Going to an opposing town and, to the buses.
Yep.
But, that's been kind of taken away from kids, Charles. And I mean, there's something about it. We see that on the college football ledger when we have rivalries, the big games, Ohio State, Michigan, LSU, Alabama, Alabama, Florida. You go up USC, UCLA.
Yep.
You see these games on the slate, Charlton, where, you get these interstate rivals as well as the conference rivals. And, there's something about that, for young men to have that lineage to lean on, to have alumni there, from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yep.
To come for those big games, Charlton, that homecoming game where you always have this one team on the slate for homecoming. That's something to be lived with the rest of your life and something to relish.
Yeah.
And when you take that away and you have these independent high schools that can schedule anybody that they can, and we go to this exploitation at an early age.
Yeah.
These schools are making money, Charles.
Yeah.
They're making a lot of money traveling across the country because, like I said, if we drove more than 40 miles on that yellow bus, that was a long trip.
And
it was hot going and not coming. And now they're traveling 2,500 miles across the country for games. And so who's paying for that? That's a lot of money to put, 100, maybe 75 kids or whatever on a plane and take them across the country. You got the boosters going along, Charles.
Yep.
And so, there's money being made by these high schools, but once again, the kids are not being paid.
Well, I remember back in the day, I think it was around the mid-2000, 2004 or 5, somewhere in there, the school from Buchanan High School of Clovis went to Hawaii. It cost them $80,000 to fly over there and back. $80,000 for a 3-hour football game. Also, we have IMG Academy. They're playing Corona Centennial. Now, Corona Centennial is in California. That's Vontez Burfict's old high school. And IMG Academy is out of Florida. They're another private high school. They're playing a game in San Diego. So somebody's getting money from someplace. I don't know if it was moonshine at the high school level, Big C, but I don't know how many parents can afford to fly across the country for a 3-hour high school football game. But for all the guys involved, I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you get your education, and I know that most of you will. Big C, last night, want to get your thoughts on the Buckeyes. Obviously, college does not have the preseason games the way you have it at the NFL level. But Ohio State, Indiana's actually putting some money into their program. The stadium hosts 52,000, which Ohio State might feel like they're playing in the outhouse when they play in front of 50,000 people compared to the Horseshoe. Just your thoughts on Barrett and how he actually performed the way an All-American should in the second half of that game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Ohio State did come out sluggish. Indiana came out with all the bells and whistles in the first half and played tremendous football. They led Ohio State at halftime. And, but that's what great teams do, Charlton. Ohio State has 2 new coordinators on offense and defense.
Yeah.
So they went in at halftime and made adjustments. They saw the best that Indiana was going to give them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing when you play football, you play your best. And the team that's supposed to be playing the better of the team is playing sluggish. But this is why you have great coaching staff. Everybody looks at the head coach. But it's the coordinators on any level, whether it's high school, college, or professional. The offensive, defensive, and special team coordinators, Charlton, who go in and make adjustments because the head coach is just the CEO, Urban Meyer.
Right.
These guys are saying from the press box. They're charting everything as well as the video. So when they come in, they can exploit what they saw during the first half. They saw where you made mistakes. They saw where there was opportunity missed. And when they come in, Charlton, and make those adjustments, we saw that with Ohio State getting 6 points forward. In the second half, J.D. Barrett, unleashed himself on this Indiana defense, which looked good, for 30 minutes. And that stadium expansion that they're going, they're going to get up over 65,000 in Bloomington, which is nice. It's nice for college football as a whole. It shows the influx of money that these programs are investing another $100 million into their stadiums to expand them. But the kids are getting nothing. But, Ohio State, in the second half, they lived up to their number 2 ranking. There was a lot of question marks in the first half. But then
Yeah.
So it takes some timing. I'm impressed with the offensive line, which is just huge. When you look at it, it looks like a basketball team.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It looks like a point guard.
Yeah, they're definitely
get better as the season goes along, Charles.
Yeah, they're definitely a very, very sound program. I do want to bring up something that I thought was kind of auspicious. I'm getting ready for the Washington Huskies. They're taking on Rutgers, flying across the country. And to me, I know people talk about the SEC and how Alabama doesn't. They may schedule one soft opponent. I mean, they're going to play probably half of their schedules in the top 15 or 20, Big C. And that's the SEC itself. We saw what happened when they drugged USC last year because something was in the wrong with the Kool-Aid, the moonshine, whatever it was. It made well, they when Lynn Swan found out Southern hospitality doesn't mean don't bring your own Gatorade. That way your kids aren't so sluggish, read between the lines. But obviously, I want to look at Washington playing at Rutgers. They have nothing to gain by playing that game, and I know these games are scheduled out in advance.
They get a lot of frequent flying.
They definitely. Yeah.
6,000 miles of frequent flying miles. That's almost a free airline.
That's definitely a free airline ticket. So obviously it's great when we see these things. But you mentioned something earlier. The regionalized games are great. If you travel across the country, I remember when the Huskies went to Florida back in, I think, 94, and that's when they snapped Miami's 58-game winning streak at the Orange Bowl. That's a game that was worth seeing, and that's when Bino Bryant had a great game against Miami's defense and snapped that winning streak in the humidity. But this game tonight, I mean, they have it scheduled, so they got to play it. But all it is just another tune-up game. It's great to see teams like Florida State and Alabama out of the gate playing each other head-to-head. Want to get your thoughts on Coach Peterson. Obviously, he built the Boise State Broncos into a great program. And out here in the West, they were in the Big West. I mean, actually, the Mountain West Conference. And people really didn't know how good Boise was. So he gets the job to go up to Washington. And just a couple years after that, they're playing in the National Championship Tournament. Talk about Chris Peterson and how good he is as a coach. Maybe one of the top 10 so far, at least in his colleagues. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Chris Peterson, comes from a long lineage of success. For Dan Hawkins,
Yeah.
who eventually left and went to Colorado, didn't have the same success at Colorado that he had at Boise State.
Yeah.
But when you look at how Peterson has developed his programs, and you look at the quality of players that came out there, he had this quarterback, Kellen Moore, who was a backup down in Dallas.
Yeah.
Who as a starter, at Boise State was like 52-2 as a starter.
Yeah.
So you think about the offense and the players that he had around, and a lot of them talent. A lot that went under the radar, but finally stuck into the NFL as first, second, and third round draft picks.
Yeah.
And has had a lot of success on that level. But you look at Peterson, he looks for the quality of the young man, not just the tremendous athlete, because he had a lot of second and third athletes that he had at Boise State.
Yeah.
But the development as a coach and as his coaching staff, he knew how to bring out the best of these young men, because these are kids that are inspired to go to these larger universities that turned them down. But when Boise got a chance to play them, Charlton, they always were one up. I mean, Boise went in and beat Georgia in the season opener.
Yeah.
They beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. They've knocked off the big boys, Charlton, over the years.
Yeah.
And were consistent about it. They beaten Oregon when they were ranked high.
Yeah.
So, Peterson took that same mindset to Washington. He doesn't run an egotistical program. When you look at his nonchalant attitude on the sideline, that's because he's not disturbed by what's going on. He knows it takes 60 minutes to play a football game, so he preps his players for that time.
Yeah.
To have that 60-minute mentality, don't burn yourself out on one play. When you make a big play, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what you've been coached up to do.
Yeah.
And that's Coach Peterson's mindset. He's not the rah-rah coach, but he will motivate you through negativity if you do something wrong, Charlie.
Yeah.
He will find a place on the bench for you.
And
so he doesn't want anybody being bigger than the team, Charlie.
Yeah. And you know what, Big C, he reminds me of the late Donnie James when he built the Huskies program into a national power and won they split the national championship with Miami in the 1991 season. And he reminds me of him, not someone who gets up and down the field on the sideline like a Lou Holtz back in the day when he would go up and down the sideline yelling and screaming, and that worked for Lou Holtz. But you have Peterson, reminds me like he's like Donnie James, a little bit younger version of Donnie James and how he gets his kids to perform at the highest level. They're way up in the Northwest. Yeah, maybe that's what they got in common. Them good old boys, they don't share it with everybody. But also, I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every sport and event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark that have been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. They cover pro athletes, your collegiate athletes, your high school players, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. Big C, before we close out on the big game, which obviously to you good old boys down South Alabama, you probably haven't slept for about a week, Big C, but I want to touch on kind of the troubled game. If you think about trouble, Michigan number 9 in the country, they're playing Florida ranked 16. Big C, they're only favored by 5 points, and Florida has 10 players suspended. Is Michigan a little bit overhyped this year, Big C? Your thoughts with Harbaugh?
You look at a team having that many players on suspension down in Florida, and really they could kill you morale.
Yeah.
Found out they had some financial improprieties that they had done.
At Florida?
This is a program, Charlton, that has a history of that. It doesn't make any difference who the coach is that you bring in there. Going back to Galen Hall, we talked about Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
And now we look at McElwain. It's the players that they recruit. It's not just the coaches, but it's the players that the institution allows in.
Yeah.
That they're doing these things. You can only police so much as a head coach.
Yeah.
But, I look at McElwain. He policed it right. These players cannot play. As he said, you got these financial improprieties with someone's credit card. This is wrong.
Yeah.
And so you cannot breed that type of contention into your program, Charles.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to get rid of those kids regardless. You get rid of your top receiver, you get rid of your top defensive lineman. It doesn't make a difference, Charles. The program is bigger than the individuals.
That's a good point.
I praise McElwain on that.
Yeah.
He said, you got to go.
Yeah.
And so I hope that they don't bring him back into the program, Charles, because then all of a sudden you're advocating that type of negativity.
Yeah.
And so you got to sacrifice some victories for the greater good of socialism there in your program, Charles.
Yeah.
To keep everybody else straight.
You got to make sure you do that. So obviously, Michigan, they're to be only a 5-point favorite, and they have 10 starters, 10 players suspended on Florida. Maybe they'll have to prove that they're better later in the season as we get along. I also want to look at, we have West Virginia, kind of another regional game. West Virginia ranked number 22, and they're at Virginia Tech ranked number 21, and that game's going to be on Sunday. There's so much in the state of West Virginia, and I love the fact that they really galvanize around their football programs. The coal mine territory, Big C, a lot of people are unemployed. Michael Vick's old school with the Virginia Tech, and then West Virginia. I remember they played Notre Dame for the national championship back in the 90s under Lou Holtz when he was at Notre Dame. Just talk about the regionalization of this game. This is like Washington playing Washington State to start the season, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it's also, you understand the Holtz, the head coach of West Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, he's coming in trying to turn this program around. He was at Oklahoma State as an offensive coordinator. He's gone there, got his head coaching job, and done a tremendous job. But also look at Hal Greer, the quarterback that he has, who was a transfer from Florida, who was just 2 years ago was a starter as a freshman.
Yeah.
Had an injury, had to transfer. He was hit with some performance enhancement after his recovery.
Yep.
So he transferred out of the university. Now he's at West Virginia. He's in that rundown offense stuff. It's wide open. So
Yeah.
This is going to be his heyday playing for Hoverson there at West Virginia. This is a team that loves to put up 500 yards of total offensive game. And so I look for all the fireworks. Virginia Tech is still rebuilding.
Yep.
This is a program that's trying to get back to where they were a few years ago in the
Yeah.
big bowl games and all of that. But, being in the Big 12, West Virginia is a tremendous program.
Well, obviously, Big C, it should be a great game. It's good for the fans to see that. Just getting back from Southern California, being down there, over the last couple of days. Now, USC, the talk of the southern part of the Pac-12 South, I guess you could say. In fact, the entire Pac-12. Even though I'm going to say it's going to be hard to uproot Washington, because Washington has a lot of players back, and they have a quarterback who's actually earned the right to be called a Heisman Trophy candidate, and Jake Browning. But Sam Darnold, he's the guy they're going with. Obviously, USC is on a winning streak. They have so many great athletes. That's one thing I noticed, whether looking at schools like Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, even Notre Dame back in the day. They have athletes that look like they're NFL ready, but it's a matter of how you gel on the playing field. Now, USC, when you go back to when Coach Pete Carroll was there, I always looked at them playing for a national championship. But since he's left, they've still been trying to find their way. But they have a game coming up against Western Michigan, which played Wisconsin last year in a bowl game, so they're a little bit depleted. And Western Michigan, they're 26-point underdogs coming to Southern California playing the Trojans, who have to atone for that bad start that they had against Alabama. And the breaking news at USC is they would not allow Western Michigan to bring out their own Gatorade. So they learned from playing against Coach Saban. Big, for your thoughts?
Now at the University of Minnesota. And this was a team that challenged in the BCS standings last year. Charles, people thought they may get that wild card game in the BCS run.
Yeah.
But, it's been a solid program over the past few years. They lost their head coach, so they're in the rebuilding. But USC, when you talk about trap games, this could be one for them. I mean, USC always has had tremendous athletes, Charles.
Yeah.
They've been able to get the cream of the crop from the West Coast.
Yeah.
They've been able to recruit nationally because they've brought in players over the decades from all over the country. And, they have this highly touted quarterback.
Yeah.
But it's going to be different this year. Donald is going to be starting the season, not on the bench,
Yeah.
on the field. So can he pick up where he left off in the Rose Bowl with that 500-yard passing performance?
Yeah.
That's going to be the key, because if he doesn't get off to a fast start, they're going to be in a for a dogfight with Western Michigan, Charles.
Well, I tell you, another great game coming up that they're really more excited about in Southern California. You have Texas A&M, and we know the problems and the issues with the storms over in Texas. But the players get a chance to get away and come out to California and get some California love. So they get to find some California love. I don't know if I sounded as good as Tupac sound, Big C. But playing against UCLA could be a come-out game for Josh Rosen. Obviously, he had some injuries last year. This guy is primed to be an NFL pick. I think he needs one more good year of seasoning at UCLA. But your thoughts on Texas A&M? They got the win last year at College Station, having a goal line stand against UCLA. Maybe a payback game for the Bruins. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, in that game last year, Charles, Rosen threw a couple untimely picks.
Yeah.
But A&M, this has not gotten to the level that they should have gotten with Sumlin. Every year they lose 2 or 3 critical games, Charles, that knocks them out of the running. They'll have a 5-game winning streak. All of a sudden they come up losing against teams that they should not.
Yeah.
Rosen is the most NFL-rated quarterback, Charles, in the Pac-12. You got 5 elite quarterbacks in that conference. He's the most NFL-rated because he goes through his progression.
Yeah.
And so if A&M is coming into this game with a revamped secondary, they're going to have their hats handed to them, because you're looking at a quarterback that understands progression reads, who knows how to check down.
Yeah.
Does not try to force the ball, Charles. So that gives UCLA an upper hand in this game. Now, also Trevor Knight is not going to be there this year for A&M. They're going to be running a new quarterback. So how will he be prepared for this game? So UCLA has the advantage with Rosen, even though he missed half the season due to injuries. But this guy is so savvy in the pocket, Charles.
Yeah.
I take Rosen over anybody in this game.
Big C, another great matchup potential-wise, even though BYU started slow. They're going into Bayou country playing LSU. LSU was 8-4 last year, but they're always loaded. Another one of those great programs, as you call it, those dominant programs that have the marquee talent. That could be a trap game for LSU, opening up with a new coach on the Ogeron. BYU likes to throw the football. Talent-wise, they don't match up with LSU, but they can put the ball in the air. Just like USC opening up with Western Michigan, could the BYU game be a trap game for LSU and their new head coach? Big C, your thoughts?
I think BYU may come in a little awestruck, Charles. They did struggle last week against, I believe,
Portland State.
Hawaii.
Portland State, actually. Portland State.
Portland State. This is a Division II program that they just weren't there with.
Yeah.
BYU has a quarterback who hadn't played in a couple of years because he was on a mission.
Yeah.
So he missed 2 years of football, so this was his first game back in 2 years. You don't play the athleticism that you get against LSU on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Anybody, Charleston.
Yeah.
It's one of the most athletic universities in the United States as far as bringing in football talent. We talked about the new head coach in Ogeron. You also have a new offensive coordinator, Charleston.
Yeah.
A guy who understands offensive football, which is something that Les Miles never brought in when he was the head coach down there. 1 year he brought in an offensive coordinator, Chan Gailey, but Chan was from the NFL, not from the college ranks.
Yeah.
Ogeron brought someone from the college ranks who knows how to put 30 points on the scoreboard every week.
Yeah.
So I think and he didn't have the athletes at this former school that he had at LSU. So I think you're going to see a very electrifying LSU offense against BYU, and I wouldn't be surprised, Charleston, to see them score 38 to 42 points against this BYU defense.
That's a very good defense, and for LSU, they're always loaded, they're always stacked, and so obviously a big game for the first, the new coach again. They seem to have a new direction going in there for LSU, so hopefully they'll have a great season down there, and someone needs to challenge Alabama. Big C, as we look across the country also, now Penn State obviously 10-2 last year, won the Big Ten. The knock is they have to play in the Rose Bowl, but they were not in the bowl series. They took Ohio State instead. They opened up with Akron, a game they should have a blowout win. But also, when you look at that, after Akron, they're playing Pittsburgh, which is more of a rivalry, that in-state rivalry. Is there any chance of a letdown for Penn State in their meteoric rise, Big C? Your thoughts?
Not really, though. They have one of the top 3 running backs in the country.
Yeah.
We saw, highlights of that in the Rose Bowl last year. And Franklin's done a tremendous job of turning this program around. When we were talking about the offensive coordinator that went to LSU, he left Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And we saw the type of firepower that Pittsburgh had at offense last year. Matter of fact, they were the only team to beat Clemson in the regular season in a 52-48 shootout.
Yeah.
So he's going to bring that type of offense to LSU. So this is something that Pittsburgh is going to be lacking when Penn State gets to town, is that offensive coordinator that they had.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a big challenge. But, when you look at the quarterback and the running back with Penn State, they're very healthy, Charleston. And this is a very solid offensively run team. Franklin's done a tremendous job putting the talent back together in Happy Valley.
Yeah.
And everybody's happy with the outcome from last year, winning the Big Ten title.
Yeah.
They felt shunned, not making it to the playoffs. I see Penn State, Charleston, they could potentially run the table in the Big Ten. How many teams? 15 teams in that conference is the Big Ten?
I think there's 19 or 15. Math doesn't matter. Who said math matters, Big C?
They ran out of just less than 10, okay?
Yeah.
But I potentially see Penn State in the best team in that conference. I know Ohio State is ranked number 2.
Yeah.
Michigan will always get hyped because of Harbaugh.
Yeah.
He's not that great of a team, Charleston.
Yeah.
But Penn State is solid from top to bottom.
Big C, one of the teams that has had the least amount of respect for winning a national championship, I think back to Robbie Bosco with BYU when they won a national championship back, and I want to say around the '84 season, and they had a game against Miami. They had beat Miami up in Utah. The altitude was a little bit high for Miami, so obviously, but that team was not considered a championship team. They were just considered a team that got lucky, won a national championship. That brings me to this: Clemson. Last year's national champion beat Alabama on the last play by Watson. What a great throw he had in the end zone. And they were the runner-up the year before. But this team, unlike maybe an Alabama or a Texas or a USC coming off a national championship, it seems like are they being overlooked, Big C? Can Dabo Swinney build a program, or was it all because of Watson last year, Big C? Your thoughts?
Dabo Swinney, Charleston, has the best returning defense in college football this year. But when you look at how they held Alabama in check last season in that championship game, they only gave up 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And 2 of those touchdowns came off of turnovers early in the game.
Yeah.
But this is the team that held Alabama in check. And Alabama is not the team this year that they were last year. But Clemson, their biggest hiccup right now is the quarterback.
Yeah.
If they can figure out a quarterback that gets led and he doesn't mess up, all he has to do is drive the car.
Yeah.
You're not asking him to turn left or right. Just drive it.
Just go straight.
That's all you want him to do. If he drives it straight, Clemson will repeat as ACC champs.
Yeah.
Because that defense they have, Charleston, is one of the top 2 or 3 in the country.
Yeah. Obviously, they're looking forward to it. They're going to have to prove that they weren't just about Watson, that they actually have a program. A few more teams I want to throw at you, Big C. We know up in the Big Ten, we have a great program in Wisconsin. J.J. White's former school, they're playing Utah State, which actually has had success playing in the Mountain West Conference. They've actually challenged for a championship a couple of times. That's maybe a catch game, too. But Wisconsin's scheduled right. They have Utah State and they have Florida Atlantic back-to-back, and then at BYU. Your thoughts on Wisconsin? 11-3 last year, a dominant team, and one of the top teams, it seems, every year in the Big Ten. Your thoughts, Big C?
When you look at 2 of those games that Wisconsin lost, Charleston, and they lost by less than 7 points in 2 of those games.
Yeah.
This is a team that will come out and hit you in the mouth.
Yeah.
They got some big corn-fed boys up there in Wisconsin, Charleston, that all
Yeah.
they want to do is play football.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And they come out and they play team football, Charleston. They play tactician football. They're very sound in their program as far as technique goes.
Yeah.
And you look at these guys, they're not top recruited guys from all over the country, Charleston. They got a lot of 2 or 3 star players and stuff. They don't have the 4 or 5 blue chippers, okay?
Yeah.
They have a left-handed quarterback that reminds me a lot of old Kenny Stabler.
Oh, yeah.
Who played there in Oakland and Alabama.
Yeah.
And he's just a consistent player, Charlton. Maybe a lot like Mark Brunell, who played in Washington, who played with the Jaguars for many years.
Yeah.
In the NFL. But, this is a program that, until they get to the point where they're going to play one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten, play not Wisconsin, but Penn State,
Yeah.
Michigan, or Ohio State.
Yeah.
You got a free run until they get to those games, Charlton, and maybe sneak up on them and dominate them.
Big C, that's a very good point. I know the game you've been chomping at the bit, Big C. I know you like that dragster. You good old boys do a lot of drag racing down south, and that good old boy that puts whatever he does in that dragster, he don't want to see those stop lines. Would they go red light, green light, yellow light, or which one goes first, Big C? Yellow light, green light?
I think I ran a red light today. I'm not sure, but my glass up a little bit, so and the sun was kind of bright, so
Okay.
I can tell the difference between red and yellow. I just kept going.
I want to tell you, Florida State, they talked to USC too. They have similar colors. They brought their own drinks for this game down in the great state of Georgia. One of the most beautiful stadiums, I think, on the planet Earth is that new Mercedes-Benz Dome. I hear it's bright like outside Big C, but Alabama, great quarterback coming back, has a lot of experience even though he's young. And then you look at Florida State, they have so much going for them. The team that loses this game will probably still be in the Final Four, Big C. Your thoughts on the build-up, and will the hype match? I think Alabama's about a 7-point favorite over Florida State. And I just want to get your thoughts on what it's like with the electricity down there in the great state of Georgia for this big matchup, Big C. Your thoughts?
Oh, Johnson, this is the game Hurd versus Francois.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Francois as a bit of pocket passer.
Oh, really?
Kid on a few occasions last year went for over 400 yards in the air.
Yeah.
Hurd does a lot with his legs to set up his pass. Alabama this year does not have the dominant defense at the start of the season that they've had in the past. They lost 7 players to the NFL draft. Even though they rotate a lot of players, I like what Florida State does offensively. You think about Francois.
Yeah.
He's a quarterback that stays in the pocket that doesn't get rattled. He's willing to take the hit, Charles.
Yeah.
So he allows his receivers to have that extra time to come open. And we've seen so often in the past, it's just that split second of a quarterback holding the ball before he releases it to allow a receiver to come open.
Yeah.
Hurd, we know he's probably a little more talented with his feet. He has a great running back in Scarborough if he comes back healthy this year after that broken leg, in the game against Clemson.
Yeah.
And he's had so many injuries over his career, but this is one of those games that you like. This won't be a USC dog that you saw last year.
Yeah.
Down in Arlington. This will be a real football game, Charlton, between 2 talented teams.
Yeah, obviously, this is what football is all about. You want to see big versus big. We talked about some of the top schools in the country playing each other in high school. Now we're getting what we wanted at the college level. This is what people pay to see. This is a lot more exciting than watching Washington play Rutgers. Love the Florida State-Alabama matchup. Big C, we know the NFL is cutting down. This is the first time, I think in a long time, they're just going to make a big cut before the kickoff because of kickoff season as opposed to cutting down after game 1, 2, and 3. They're all going to round these good old boys up and tell people who have a job or not. Your thoughts on some of the big news happening in the NFL, Big C?
You're so exactly right. The first time in NFL history that they're having one cut at the end of preseason, even though they shouldn't even have a preseason in the NFL. We don't get it in college football, and it's too long in the NFL. You have all these workout times that you have during the offseason. You're able to evaluate talent at that point, Charles. You know who can run straight and who can.
Oh, yeah.
By the end of the OTAs.
Yeah.
And, to get into a preseason game where you got the number 2s and number 3s playing most of the time, Charles, you don't get a true assessment of talent in those games. If you have not figured it out in practice, how does college teams pick their starting lineups? They only have practice.
Yeah, that's what they did in the scrimmage.
So the NFL, not until you get to the NFL, you start at Pop Warner, you start in high school, you go through college.
Yep.
Not until you get into the NFL, you have to have preseason games. Those preseason games, Charlton, are only about money for the owners.
Yeah.
But when you look at the number of players that have been injured, Charlton, starters from last year, in excess of 20 players will not play this season.
That's amazing.
They played last year due to injuries. Teams have been injured in a preseason game, Charlton. And a lot more have been injured, but they'll only miss 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at the economic impact on players and career impact on players from the preseason, you can cut it down to 2 preseason games, Charlton, and that will be efficient.
That would be,
and not increase
yeah.
the regular season. If you really want to increase the regular season, Charlton, the best thing the NFL could do is go to that odd game. That way you never have a tie for a division lead.
Yep.
Play 17 regular season games, 2 preseason games. I think that trade-off of getting rid of one game would be equal for everybody.
Yeah.
It would allow the players to make more money because you move their pay scale according to that extra game they play.
Yeah.
The owners move, 2 preseason games, but, it will allow for players to be healthier because when you have guys trying to make a team,
Yeah.
you don't go out there like a pillow fight. You
Yeah.
go out there like a savage and try to take someone's head off every
Yeah.
chance you get.
Yeah.
Hoping that resonates in the coach's eyes and say, hey, this guy's a big-time hitter. We're going to keep him.
Yep, that's a very good point, Big C. Coming up on this beautiful holiday weekend, we hope that everybody stays safe, and we hope that all the great people of Texas can get help. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He used to always say, rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
We're talking about I'm going to be sneaking into the green Mercedes zone down in Atlanta. I got my sunglasses so nobody recognizes who I am because it's so bright. That big video screen they have around in the Phoenix.
Yeah.
10K looks like the sun. I mean, there's a solar eclipse. But I'm looking forward to that game. Finally, we're going to get some pants popping, some sweat and snot running off of faces. And
Yeah.
it's, a wonderful weekend, the first major weekend in college football.
Yes.
And me sneaking into the New Jersey.
That Big C just use your press pass. And speaking of press pass, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. We want to tell you, there's never, ever any reason for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, just call 911 so she won't have to deal with that garbage on her own. And keep Americans safe. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.